Hello and welcome back. In the last video, we tried to understand the above program structure. In that video, we've seen that processing blocks play a very crucial role in understanding above programs. So in this video, we'll try to explore these processing blocks. I'll give you an introduction to the various processing blocks that we use in above programs. And once you have the basic idea about different types of processing blocks, then we'll explore more about each of these processing blocks as we progress in the course. So understanding of these processing blocks is very important. All the sessions in this section are very crucial to understand above programs. So let's start with an understanding of processing blocks. So in this video, we'll discuss about all the processing blocks that are possible in above programs. We'll see whether the different types of processing blocks you can use in above programs. And we'll also try to understand what are the statements we use to define those processing blocks, how they are called. And in the previous video, I've also talked about global data objects and local data objects. So we'll understand which of these processing blocks support local data and which do not support local data. So only some of the processing blocks support local data. Not all processing blocks support local data. So we'll see which of these processing blocks support local data. And also, you cannot define all of these processing blocks in all types of programs. If you remember, when I was giving you the first introduction, when I created my first program, there is an option to select the type of program. And so far, we've been creating executable programs. But there are other types of programs that you can create in ABAP. So we'll also see which type of processing blocks can be used in which type of programs. I won't be going too in detail about them. This video, I'll only focus on giving you an overview. And as we progress in the next videos, we'll take each one of them and try to understand more about each type of processing blocks. Broadly, processing blocks can be categorized as event blocks, dialog modules, and procedures. So you have event blocks. So under event blocks, you have different types of events that you can use. Then we have dialog modules. This we use when we create a module pool program. So I'll be talking about them when we discuss module pool programming. And then we have procedures. Procedures are very important for you to understand because everything in ABAP that you see, once you start developing real world applications, most of the times you'll be calling these procedures to get a lot of functionality into your program. So understanding of these procedures is very crucial. So these are the different types of processing blocks. We have event blocks, dialog modules, and procedures. What are the key characteristics of these event blocks? So there are different event blocks and all of them have certain common characteristics. Event blocks are introduced with event keywords. For example, there are different types of event blocks that you can use. Some event blocks are related to report programs. Some event blocks are related to selection screens. Some event blocks are related to the list screens that are generated using write statements. But irrespective of the event that you are using in your ABAP program, all these events are introduced with an event keyword. For example, if I want to use this startup selection event, that's one event block. All I have to do is use that event keyword. And once I use that keyword, whatever code I write below that event will belong to that event block. Okay. So event blocks are introduced by event keywords. They are ended implicitly by next processing block or the end of the program as opposed to specifically by their own keyword. In the previous video, when we discussed about procedures, where I maintained a couple of procedures in my program between form and form. So that was introduced with form statement and I was ending that block using end form statement. Whereas with events, we don't do that. So if you say startup selection, you don't need to say end startup selection. It automatically ends when the next processing block starts. For example, let's say you have another event called end of selection or end of selection doesn't mean that it is ending startup selection. It's a separate event. Or I can also say there's another event called let's say at selection screen or at line selection. So this is another list event. So when I maintain these events this way, for example, if I have some data object like this, and if I write this line here, then this particular statement belongs to start of selection. Whatever code I write before the next event starts or next processing block starts will belong to that particular event under which you are writing the code. And if I write something here, if I write another statement, then this statement belongs to this line selection event. Okay, so an event is introduced with an event keyword. You don't need to explicitly end it by using an end keyword. There's no end keyword for the event. It automatically ends. It implicitly ends when the next processing block starts. Okay, for example, again I'll write something here under this event. So this code will belong to end of selection event. And if I have another processing block, let's say form get data end form, this is another processing block, form end form, but here is, see, this is not an event, so that's why I have to end it explicitly by using an end keyword. So whatever code I write here will belong to this processing block, form end form. Okay, whereas for this these are procedures, form and form, so you have to end it explicitly by using an end statement. Whereas for events, you don't have to explicitly end it by the end statement. It automatically ends when you implement another processing block. So startup selection ends after this statement because line selection is starting after that, and line selection ends after this statement because we have end of selection, and end of selection ends with this because I have started another processing block, form get data. Okay, so event blocks are introduced with event statements. So we'll explore all the available events that are there in our program, and we'll try to understand when they are called and what kind of functionality you can provide in your ABAP programs by using these events. We'll go in deep about them in the next video. But for now, I just want to give you a basic idea about all of these processing blocks. So the common characteristics of all the event blocks is they are introduced with an event keyword and they end implicitly when the next processing block starts. Event blocks have no local data area. That means in form and form, I can define a data object which is visible only in that data object. So this is a local data object for this form and form, okay, for this subroutine. Whereas events do not have any local data. So if you define anything under the event, let's say something like this, then since they do not have any local data object, they will be considered as global data objects only. For example, yesterday we've seen that if you define something within a processing block, then assuming I'll have one more processing block, let's say I have this processing block, then whatever I define in this processing block, I cannot access in any other processing block. Right? So I cannot access it here. If I do it, it will give a syntax error. Right? Similarly, I cannot access that under startup selection because it is not global. It is local to this particular processing block. So I can only access it within this processing block, within this subroutine, because that is a local data object. However, if you define something within an event block, so vSpras I have defined under startup selection, but since they do not have any local data area, the system will consider this to be a global data object. So even though I defined it under startup selection, it will still be a global data object. So I can access it from any other processing block. So I can say vSpras equals to something. So I've defined the vSpras under startup selection, but I'm trying to access that data object under this processing block. The system won't complain. Okay, it's complaining about vMatnar, not vSpras. So here if you see, vSpras is defined under startup selection, but I'm able to access it from another processing block. Whereas LVMatnar is defined in this get data processing block, and since this procedure support local data area, I can, it is considered as a local data object and I can only access it within that processing block. Okay. So that's why I don't do any data declarations under the events because it's of no use. Even if I declare it here, the system is anyway considering it as global data object. So we'll keep it in the global declaration area only. Event blocks are introduced by event keywords and they end implicitly when you start a next processing block. They do not have any local data area. A data declaration in an event block is added to the global data. The execution of event block is triggered by events in the ABAP runtime environment. This is another important point about events. If you maintain these procedures, they are not called by runtime environment. To call this procedure, I have to use a statement called perform somewhere in my code. When the system is executing this startup selection event, it will come across this particular statement, and when it executes this statement, then this particular processing block is called. So procedures are called using specific keywords in your program. Whereas to execute these events, to execute startup selection or at line selection or end of selection, these events, you don't use any specific statements. So there is no statement which I can use to call that event. Whenever I'm running the program, the runtime environment will automatically call them because all these events are predefined. So we already know when exactly a particular event will be called in the program flow. So when that event takes place while the program is running, then the runtime environment will call your event and execute the code that you maintain within that event. So these event blocks are called by ABAP runtime environment. We have no control over them programmatically to call them. So you cannot programmatically write some code to execute an event block. They are always called by the runtime environment. All you can do is you can maintain an event in your program, and while the program is running, if that event takes place, then it will come and execute your code. If the event doesn't take place, then that code is never executed. So let me demonstrate that. For example, here I'll say write, this is test, for example. So this will print this line in the output, and at line selection is an event that is executed when the user double clicks on the output line. So whenever we are showing this list display, and on that line if the user double clicks, it will execute whatever code you write within that at line selection event block. So I'll keep a breakpoint here and I'll execute it. If that statement is triggered, whatever code I've written under at line selection, if that is executed, it should stop at the breakpoint. Now since it did not stop, that means that code is not yet executed. And if I don't do anything, I'll see this output and I'll go back. The debugger did not start because this code is never called. However, if I double click on this line, now you can see it is calling the debugger. That means it is now calling that at line selection event, and whatever code you write under that event will be executed. Okay, so now it is trying to execute this code. So you can see here also the current event that is being called is at line selection. Okay, so whenever you use these events, it's not mandatory that whatever code you write within the event will always be executed when your ABAP program is running. It will be executed only when that event takes place while the program is running. If that event doesn't take place, then that code is ignored totally. Okay, and if I don't maintain this, if I don't maintain at line selection and execute my program, if I double click now, the runtime environment will call this at line selection event, but since I did not maintain it in my program, it will be ignored. So it won't give any error. It will simply, it won't do anything basically. Okay, so the execution of an event block is triggered by events in the ABAP runtime environment. If an appropriate event block is implemented in the ABAP program for an event of the runtime environment, the event block is executed. Otherwise, the event has no effect. So as I demonstrated, in the output, when I double clicked, I maintained that at line selection, so it executed that code. If I didn't maintain that at line selection, then the system simply ignored it, ignored the double click action. Nothing happened when I double clicked on it. Conversely, event blocks will not be executed in an ABAP program unless the associated event takes place while the program is being executed. This also I have demonstrated. I maintained the at line selection event, I executed the program, I saw the output, then I went back without double clicking on the line, then my code in at line selection was never executed. right? So just because you are maintaining an event, it doesn't mean that it will always be executed. It will be executed only if the associated event takes place. All these events are predefined. In the sense, we already know when exactly that event will take place. So if you want to provide some functionality for that event, then we maintain it. If you don't want to provide any functionality, then you ignore it. So for example, sometimes the user asks for drill down reports where they'll say, show us this in the output, but once I double click on anything, I want some additional functionality in the report. So in that situation, we'll use those events that are executed when the user double clicks. But sometimes the user will simply say, okay, just show a basic report and I don't want to do anything. I don't want it to be interactive. I'll just see the output and that's all I want from the report. In that case, you don't need to maintain that event which is called when the user double clicks on the output. So based on your requirement, you can use these events or you can ignore them. Then we have different types of events. This is what we'll be discussing in detail in the next video. So we have program constructor event, reporting events, selection screen events, list events, and screen events. So we'll try to go through all of these events and understand what are the keywords that we use to introduce these events, when they are called by the runtime environment, and what kind of functionality you can provide by using these events. So for example, we have one program constructor event called load of program. This event is called when the program is loaded into the memory. So when you execute a program, it actually loads the program into the memory, into the application server before executing the code. So when the program is loaded into the memory, you want to do something, maybe run some authorization checks or anything like that, then you can use that load of program event, right? So similarly, we'll try to go through all the available events one by one and try to understand the keywords that we use to introduce those events and what kind of functionality we can provide by using those events in our program. And at that time, we'll also see what type of events can be used in what type of programs. Then other type of processing block is dialog modules. Dialog modules are implemented in executable programs, module pools, or function group type of programs. If you actually see this program, when I'm creating this program, I maintain certain attributes for the program. One of them is type. So if you are creating a module pool type of program or a function group type of program or an executable type of program, then you can use these dialog modules in them. So they are maintained between module and module. For example, let me create a screen for this program. So I'll go to Object Navigator by clicking on this button, so that it will be easy to create the screens and stuff. So I'll right click, create screen. Dialog modules we use when we are developing module pool programs. So I'll be talking about them in detail when we reach that topic. For now, I'll just demonstrate. So when you're dealing with screens, we have something called screen flow logic. When the program is running, first it will call this screen flow logic, and you cannot actually write your ABAP codes directly in the flow logic. All you can do from this flow logic is call modules. So you use this module statement to call a module, and this module you maintain in your ABAP program. So for example, if I double click here, it will ask me to create a module. I'll say yes. I'll create it in my main program. So in my main program, it is maintaining this module end module, and whatever code I write within this module end module, whatever code I write within this module end module will be executed when the screen is being processed and when it encounters this module statement. So what it will do is, when it encounters this module statement, it will go and execute whatever code is there in this module end module. So dialog modules are introduced between module end module statement, and they are called from the screen flow logic using this module statement. It's similar to the subroutines where we were maintaining it between form and form, and then we were calling it using the perform statement. But subroutines are different and modules are different. Modules we generally use only when we are dealing with screens. So this module statement you cannot use in your regular ABAP program. You can only write it in the flow logic of the screen. whereas the perform statement you can write it in your ABAP program directly. So what happens is when you're running a program, when you're processing a screen in the application server, in the work process, we have something called screen processor. So whenever you're dealing with a screen, the screen processor will take control and it will call this flow logic of that screen and it will start executing the code in the flow logic. And in the flow logic, you call these modules that are maintained in your ABAP program. Okay, so that's why you provide the functionality. But as I said, when we talk about module pool programming, there are certain basics you need to understand about screens. So once we reach that stage, you'll be able to understand this better. So I'll defer this discussion on modules till we reach that topic of module pool programming. But for now, just understand modules. N module is also one type of processing block. They are maintained between module and module, and they are called using the module statement in the screen flow logic. Like event blocks, dialog modules have no local data area and no parameter interface. What that means is, similar to events, if you do any data declaration within this module, let's say v underscore name1, type name1. If I do any data declaration here, then since they do not have local data area, this will be considered as a global data object. Okay, it will be attached to the global declaration area and it will be treated as a global object. So you can use it in other processing blocks. So since it does not have a local data area, there's no point defining or doing data declarations within a module. So if you want to use a data object, then don't declare it within a module, declare it in the global declaration area only, because even if you declare it within the module, it is anyway treated as global data object. The only place where we do these local declarations are in procedures. So in procedures, we have three types of procedures: subroutines, function modules, and methods. So if you're dealing with one of them, then we do local declarations. Otherwise, for any other processing block, we don't do any local declarations within the processing block. We always keep those declarations in the global declaration area of the program. Okay, and with procedures, when you're dealing with procedures, they have one something called parameter interface. What that means is, whenever you're calling a procedure, you can pass some data to the procedure and get back something from the procedure. These events and dialog modules do not have any parameter interface, so you can only call them. For example, events are called by runtime environment, and these dialog modules are called by the module keyword in the flow logic. So you can only call them. When you're calling them, you cannot pass any data to them because they do not have any parameter interface. A data declaration in a dialog module is also added to the global data. Dialog modules are called from the screen flow logic using module statement. I've just shown you that. So these are your dialog modules. I'm just trying to give you an introduction so that you are aware of the term, but we'll talk about them in detail when we discuss module pool programming. Then we have procedures. These are the most important types of processing blocks you need to understand. So next few videos we'll be spending in understanding these different types of procedures. What are the key characteristics or common features of these procedures? Procedures have a local data area and can have a parameter interface. Compared to all the processing blocks we discussed, event blocks and dialog modules, procedures are the only processing blocks that support local data, and they also support parameter interface, in the sense whenever you're calling a procedure, you can pass certain data to the procedure and get back something from the procedure. So this is important because using these procedures, you can create reusable software blocks. So if you have some functionality that is frequently used by many applications, then instead of writing the code in every application, you can just create one procedure and call it from those applications wherever you need that functionality. So in the previous video, I was showing you that ATM example where I talked about reusable blocks that you can define in your program. So we were talking about that one block where we can have to validate the PIN of the ATM card. So you can create one procedure, and in any application you want to validate a PIN, then you can call this procedure and pass the card details to it, and it will validate and tell you whether the PIN is correct or incorrect, and accordingly you can write the logic in your application. So you don't need to actually write the logic to validate the PIN in your program, because you have a procedure which can be called in any program. So procedures basically provide reusable software blocks. Okay. For example, if you have seen our reports, so far we are writing using the write statements to print the output, and it was taking a lot of time. And this is something you do in a lot of programs. In all the reports, that's what you do. You select the data and display it to the user in the output. And every time if you have to spend your time in using those write statements to format the output, as a developer, you'll end up spending a lot more time, right? So instead of that, SAP provides a function module or a method to which you can pass your data that you want to display in the output, and it will take care of displaying it in the output. So you don't have to sit and use those write statements in your program, right? So that way it is very useful. So since you have so many programs which needs that functionality, SAP provides a function module which can be called from any program, and you can use it to display the output, and it provides a lot of features. If you have to develop a program to include all those features, then it will take a lot of time. You'll spend 1 week, 10 days only in getting the output correct, and you can save that much time in your development just because there's one procedure available that can be used to display report outputs. And these procedures can be called internally from within the same program or externally from other programs. So all the procedures that you maintain, in fact, we have 3 types of procedures: subroutines, function modules, and methods. So all of these 3 procedures can be called both locally from within the same program in which they are maintained, as well as externally from other programs also. Procedures provide reusable software blocks. As I explained, we mainly use these procedures to provide functionality which is required by many programs. If it is something you need only in your program, then you don't need to create a procedure because it's the same effort that you put in. Whether you write the code in your program or in the procedure, it doesn't matter. But if that functionality is required by many programs, then you can put one-time effort to develop the procedure, and that procedure can be called multiple times in any program that needs that functionality. Then we have these types of procedures: subroutines, function modules, and methods. Subroutines are maintained between form and form statement. So that's what I was using. So form and form, whatever you maintain between form and form. So you say form, give some name to the subroutine, and end form. So this we call a subroutine, and they are called using perform statement. So wherever you have this perform statement, for example, here if I want to call this, I'll say perform get data. And if this subroutine is maintained in another program, and if I want to call it externally from this program, then I'll say perform get data in program and the program name. Something. So whichever program the subroutine is maintained, you can give. So these subroutines can be called, if you ignore this statement, then it will look for that subroutine within the program. But if I say in program and give the program name, then it will look for that subroutine in that particular program. So you can call it both internally as well as externally. And these subroutines also support parameter interface. So when you're calling up a subroutine, you can pass certain parameters to the subroutine, and it can use that to process something and return back some result to you. Okay, so that you can use it in your logic. Function modules are maintained between function and function, and they are called using call function statement. So for example, the function modules we create using this SC37 function builder tool. If you look at this function module, it is maintained between function and end function. And if I want to call this in my program, I have to use the statement call function and give the function module name. But when we are calling this function module, we have to pass certain parameters if the function module has parameters. If it doesn't have any parameters, you can simply use call function and give the function module name, and it will execute. But mostly these function modules have parameters defined. So whenever you're calling them, you have to pass those parameters. So we'll see when we talk about these function modules in detail later. But we use these statements like exporting, and you pass your parameters. So you basically, if you look at this function module, it has some importing parameters. Out of that, some are optional. If you select this, look at this. So if this is checked, that means this parameter is optional. The system won't complain if you ignore passing them. But if you have any mandatory parameters, then you have to pass them mandatorily. So here if you see, most of these importing parameters are optional, so I can ignore them. And we'll see what is this importing parameters, what are exporting parameters, what are changing parameters, what are tables. So we'll see all of them when we talk about function modules. So here if you see, for this T out tab, this optional is not checked. That means whenever I'm calling this function module, I have to mandatorily pass something to this parameter, right? So there is a better way to call these function modules, because it's difficult to remember all those parameters names and type them manually. Instead of writing this code like this, if I simply use this pattern button and select this call function and say give the function module name and click on this, then it will pre-fill the parameters for me. So all I need to do is map my program parameters to the function module parameters. So we'll talk about these function modules in detail later. So at that time you'll have a better idea. For now, just understand procedures are of three types: subroutines, function modules, and methods. Subroutines are maintained between form and form, and they are called using the perform statement. Function modules are maintained between function and function, and they are called using the call function statement. And methods are maintained between method and method, and are called using call method statement. Methods are actually part of object-oriented programming. So if you to create a method, first we define something called a class, and within that class we define methods. And if you want to call any of those methods in your program, then you have to use this call method statement. I'll be spending quite a lot of time on making you understand object-oriented programming. So we'll understand different concepts in object-oriented programming. So at that time we'll discuss about these methods in greater detail. So these are your procedures. So processing blocks can be broadly classified as event blocks, dialog modules, and procedures. Just to summarize, event blocks are introduced with event keywords. They end implicitly when the next processing block starts. They do not support local data. So if you define something or if you declare something within an event block, it is considered to be a global data object. They do not support any parameter interface, so you cannot pass any parameters to these events, and they are called by runtime environment. So you cannot explicitly call these events in your ABAP program. And dialog modules are maintained between module and module. They also do not support local data or parameter interface. So if you define something in a dialog module, it will be considered as global data object, and they are called using module statement in the screen flow logic. We'll talk about these dialog modules in greater detail when we deal with module pool programming. And then we have procedures. Procedures support local data, they support parameter interface, and we have three types of procedures: subroutines, function modules, and methods. Okay, so we'll see all of these processing blocks one by one. So in the next video we'll start with the event blocks. We'll try to understand different events, how they are introduced, what are the key characteristics of each event, and then we'll talk about these procedures after that one by one. Again, we'll spend some time individually understanding subroutines, then we'll discuss about function modules, and then I'll give you introduction to object-oriented programming, where I'll be discussing about these methods. Okay, hope you have an overview of the processing blocks. You may not be having good understanding about them now, but this session was about giving you an overview of the different types of processing blocks available, and some of the common characteristics of each type of processing blocks. So if you can get an idea about that, that should be enough for this video, and we'll discuss more about them in the next video. So see you in the next video.